And welcome everyone to TooStupidGamerz. It's your boy Zero.
And I'm Nanners.
And we have a news roundup for E3 2021.
That's right. E3 2021 came and went. It was certainly a lot different than anything we had in the past, and we just wanted to talk about some of the noteworthy announcements that we all saw over those last couple of days.
So, in no specific order, let's go through some of these games. And one of the games I really wanted to talk about was during Square Enix's presentation, which was Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, back in Comic-Con 2019, I had actually played a demo for the Avengers Square Enix game. And from what I played, I thought it was pretty good. And then the game came out, and people hated the whole online transaction BS that they had going on. It wasn't a lot of fun. People were complaining about repetitiveness and stuff. So when I saw that Guardians of the Galaxy is a more single-player game, mainly focusing on like the gameplay and the story, I said, okay, maybe this one will actually turn out pretty good. So that one actually got me pretty interested.
Okay. All right. And for me, another game I wanted to talk about is Psychonauts 2. Double Fine threw out a little bit of a gameplay teaser, so we got to see a bunch more from Psychonauts 2. And I gotta say, I'm a little bit... first impression, I like what I saw. It definitely looked fun. However, as good as the environments looked, I couldn't help but notice that the faces, like the skin textures on the characters, didn't really look very modern. So I'm kind of curious about that. However, I am going to go back and finally finish Psychonauts 1 in preparation for this. I'm definitely excited for it.
I'm glad you mentioned Psychonauts 2. The graphics do look amazing. The textures are a bit weird, but yeah, we definitely got to finish the first game before we hop on the second one. So the next game for me I wanted to mention is actually a collection of games. Final Fantasy 1 through 6, the Pixel Remastered Edition. So, if you guys are like me, I haven't played any of these super old pixelated Final Fantasies. I keep hearing that they're very good. Heck, there was even a remake of the third game using actual 3D models and stuff. I do want to get back into Final Fantasy, actually play some of the older ones, see where it came from. So this Pixel Remastered collection is a pretty good deal. The only issue I have with it is that it's not coming out on consoles, unless you count Steam. It's actually coming out on mobile, so a lot of people found that to be pretty annoying.
And another one for me is Stalker 2. Man, some of you guys may not know what Stalker is because it's a pretty old PC game, but they had... Yeah, it's a kind of like a first-person, very spooky type of game based around Chernobyl, and now for this, I think this already had been kind of announced before, but we got an expanded look at it, and it almost feels like it's a bigger budget type of title than I had ever anticipated that it'd be. So it looked pretty cool. I like to see kind of the banter between the different characters and what to expect, and honestly it kind of looks like it's Metro but better. So first impression was really good off of the new Stalker. I would say that's one to keep an eye out for.
Another announcement that actually got me pretty excited is hearing that Halo Infinite multiplayer is actually going to be free to play. Not to mention that it's also going to be available on PC day one as well as the Xbox Series X and S. So that's definitely going to be something I'm going to be trying out. I haven't really been able to play any Halo games at all, so this will be my first introduction to it. I can't wait to try it.
That seems like a good place to pick up the series.
Oh, indeed, definitely.
I don't really have a lot to say about this one, but because we already knew about it, I was already sold on this one from prior. But we did have, with a release date, another look at 12 Minutes, which is a branching path story game that's narrated by Willem Dafoe, or it stars Willem Dafoe as one of the characters. Yeah. And basically you play the whole game in 12 minutes, but there's a bunch of different branching paths based on your actions. I like that. I really like that kind of interesting take on story in video games. So I'm definitely going to be picking that one up, and I was excited to see it at E3.
Another game that was a pretty big surprise announcement for me was Warioware Get It Together. Now, I'm a huge fan of these micro games on Warioware. Heck, I especially like the way they introduced it into Smash Brothers. It's a lot of fun. I remember playing it on the DS a long time ago. Having a new one come out for the Switch is going to be freaking amazing, because now I can play with all my friends and stuff like that. We can play online, all these new little mini games, and the fact that you can play multiplayer, you know, just like together in one room. That's something that really got me interested. I can't wait to try it.
I would just add to that, I agree, and that's one of the franchises that I've been waiting to come to Switch for the longest time. So that is a day one purchase for me for sure. I'm stoked that they're putting WarioWare back onto or they're putting it back into the, you know, main spotlights, getting a new game.
Agreed. Be sure to tune in, because we're likely going to put this on the channel one day.
Yeah, that sounds like a showcase. This one was cool too. I didn't really get like a good impression of like what the tactics part of it is, but they had announced, SNK had announced Metal Slug Tactics. I believe that was during the Microsoft presentation or prior one. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that one, but it did get announced, I think, like day one, and it's interesting. It's kind of like what happened with Persona. You know, they're coming out with scrambles like, is this gonna work? Could this work? Because they're changing the genre. Like Metal Slug is not a tactics type of game. It's a run and gun shooter where, you know, its tactics is not really as big of a play. It's more precise running and gunning. But now they're gonna take the familiar characters and the world and put it into a tactical style game. So, you know, I mean, I love tactical games. I love games like Valkyria Chronicles and Wasteland and XCOM and stuff like that. So I'm thrilled to see that, and I'm definitely gonna be picking that one up as well.
Alrighty, everyone. Now, there's another big announcement that came out on Nintendo's E3 presentation, and it was that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is going to be an exclusive game on the Switch, at least for the time being. The game looks pretty cool. I mean, you have this whole thing where you fuse with this other being and this other upside down version of Tokyo and stuff like that, and you're fighting these huge demon monsters and stuff. It looks like a fun game. The graphics do look pretty good for a Switch game, so I'm interested in looking into that game when it comes out.
This got announced, and I had to confirm it with my friend Carlos. He was streaming, and I'm like, dude, is this for real? I didn't realize. I thought that was just a joke. The way they announced it was so weird. At the Limited Run Games panel, which was actually very good this year, they had announced a bunch of River City stuff, but they also announced River City Girls 2 is in production. And I mean, come on, we did a playthrough of the first game. You know, this is going to be a big game for TSG to come out, so we're definitely looking forward to that.
Oh,
and,
heck yes.
Yeah, and there's actually River City is an expanded universe, so there's a bunch of other games too that I believe they're making into like a collection or something like that. So that's also like there's more River City content that's gonna be coming to the West, which is very exciting.
Hopping off of the whole limited run games thing, they also acquired the rights, and this is no joke, to Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think they're going to start releasing that on modern consoles, which will be one heck of an experience. So yeah, let's look forward to that.
That's gonna go perfect on the shelf right next to Night Trap.
I actually do want to get Night Trap for my Vita.
Oh, they made it too. Limited Run Games made that, so oh boy. Zelda CDI games incoming, I guess.
I don't think Nintendo wants that to ever be like re-released at all, ever, in any sort of capacity.
All right, now this isn't a game, but I just wanted to throw in a very quick comment here. I want to commend Xseed on doing something really nice. Even though they didn't have a bunch of new game announcements, they created a little sizzle reel of games that just came out. They announced that Rune Factory 4 was coming to other consoles. They announced a couple of other things with their games, and they had also showed us a lot more than we had seen before of Rune Factory 5, while also quietly announcing that it was delayed, because then it said 2022, even though it's already coming out in Japan. But still, I want to commend them. They did a good job. They know how to present themselves. Sega, on the other hand, has done an amazing job of getting my hopes up for nothing, because at the start of E3, before E3, I had remember reading somewhere that Sega was going to be at E3, as in they were going to have like their own presentation or something like that. And lo and behold, E3 comes around, you can't see them anywhere on the schedule. Somebody told me that they were going to be at the Future Games show, and I had watched the entire PC Games then Future Games show, just hoping for that Sega segment, and it was all to see one little 5-minute segment of gameplay from Sonic Colors Ultimate. So, Sega, you disappointed me. And you didn't really have a whole lot to bring. They had 2 Point Hospital. They had that Sonic gameplay reveal and Monkey Ball. That was pretty cool. They had that. But I felt like Sega has all these other game properties going on. They could have done something a little bit nicer. It didn't have to be a full-on press conference. They could have taken example from what Xseed did, and Sega, I want you to do that next year.
One last quick little mention. Kazuya Mishima from Tekken was added to Smash Bros. Ultimate. This quite literally came out of nowhere. The trailer for this was pretty epic. You see Kazuya taking these different characters from Smash Brothers and just tossing them into a volcano, harkening back to the PlayStation 1 era where he did that to, I think it was his own son, as a matter of fact. It was pretty funny. I didn't expect it. But hey, if Ryu can be in Smash Brothers, I guess so can Kazuya. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, that was definitely out of nowhere.
Alrighty everyone, now that we have all the quickfire mentions out of the way, let's talk about some of the games that Nanners and I both found very, very, very interesting during these E3 presentations. The first one for me was actually called Shredders. That's it, that's the name of the game, it's pretty simple. Now, Shredders is a snowboarding game. I love snowboarding games. Ever since the PS2 era, one of my first games for the PS2 was ESPN's Winter X Games Snowboarding. Ever since then, I love playing these games, they're a lot of fun, just like skateboarding games, except different. So when I saw how Shredders worked, you could do all these different little tricks, you could do flips, you could do spins and stuff like that, and the graphics looks pretty good, I said, I'm down for this. Only issue is that it's gonna be out for the Xbox Series S and X, but hey, that also means PC, so looks like I'm gonna be shredding it up on the PC soon, so can't wait for this game to be released.
Okay, and my first game actually comes from the Capcom presentation, which some people said Capcom didn't really do a good job. I could kind of see why. It was definitely short. It was definitely punchy. It lacked a good amount of variety, a good amount of depth. There weren't terribly many announcements. It was pretty quickly. But one thing that stood out to me, that I really enjoyed, more than I thought I would, was actually Ace Attorney Chronicles. That's the Phoenix Wright property. Except that this won't actually involve Phoenix Wright, because what they've done is they've taken the story back in time to Sherlock Holmes. Actually, there's a character in there named Herlock Sholmes, which is a reference to the famous detective. But it's set back in time, totally different characters, and they've also done something where there's kind of like they've added a little bit more of like a game to it too, in some sense, with like it's not just point and click detective solving, like finding clues, go to court. It's also they've included a little bit of a mini game aspect to it too, which I think is perfect because I did like Ace Attorney. I definitely enjoyed it. I could see the appeal to it. It's super unique and creative. However, it does after a while feel a little bit samey, especially when you're just staring at the puzzle and trying to figure out what you're supposed to go, where you're supposed to do. So I like that they're making an effort to shake up the content a little bit just to make it a little bit more refreshing. And I definitely like the time period. It has voice acting too, which is nice. And I believe it's just going to be a game for now. One new game called Ace Attorney Chronicles. And yeah, I mean, again, it's something that I wasn't expecting, that like I was gonna really get behind it, but it made me really think, like, you know what, I felt like I didn't properly give a chance to Ace Attorney. They released they re-released it in the form of like a collection recently. I didn't really get that, but let me try this. I'll definitely pick this. I'll definitely be picking this one up.
All right, now the next game I'm going to be focusing on, we didn't get to see too much of it. It was just a trailer for it, but I'm a huge fan of Borderlands. I didn't like the first game very much. I remember playing it when it first came out in 2011, thinking to myself, it's too repetitive. I don't like I don't like doing the same thing over and over again as like missions and stuff like that. It kind of drove me nuts. The second game came out and it was a lot more fun than the prequel, and then 3 came out. I had quite a lot of fun. I played with my friends online, played through the story. I thought it was interesting. I love the voice acting. I love the writing. It's hilarious. Claptrap is one of my favorite characters of all time. I'm actually looking forward to the movie that's being released in the next couple of years. But they're creating a new spin-off game focusing on Tiny Tina. Now, any Borderlands fans will remember that name because Tiny Tina was an adorable character that was also psychotic. Like, she would run around, sing these little songs about murdering people and destroying stuff and whatever, and I couldn't help but just laugh the entire time. Now, this whole new spin-off is going to be called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and it's seeming like they're going to be taking the Borderlands formula, mixing it with a little bit more fantasy. They showed off a unicorn in the trailer and stuff like that, so I'm very curious as to what they're going to try to pull off using Tiny Tina's wacky mind and all these unicorns and rainbows and dragons and God knows what else they're going to be putting in there. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I can't wait to laugh while mowing down enemies and destroying stuff while Tina just yells out a whole bunch of random hilarious stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait till it comes out.
All right, and another one that really stood out to me. Once again, this one resonated really well with me. Was Ollie World. So if anybody knows, some of the skateboarding game fans out there, Ollie was a game that basically took the idea of Tony Hawk, but it put it into pixel 2D, and it slapped on an insanely ambient, lo-fi soundtrack to it that just made you get... It was so easy to lose time in that game because you were just having so much fun just trying again and again and again. And now, Ollie World, which just got announced, is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more 3D like looking. It's still basically 2D, but it looks 3D, has a kind of a polygonal art style. It's 3D basically is what it is. And I can kind of feel like maybe some people wouldn't like that because the original games were like all just it was 2D sprites that had like a charm to it. But I'm just so stoked to see that. I can't help but think back to Risk of Rain, when Risk of Rain went from the first game that was 2D sprites to the third game, which was 3D open world, and how, like, looking back at the first game, I can't play that anymore because the sequel did it so much better. That's exactly what I expect with this. As long as they do a good job of it, which it seems like they're doing because they put all these extra features into it. I think that, again, it's going to make it so that I can't go back and play Ollie 1 and 2. So Ollie World has a lot of promise as far as I'm concerned. A lot of cool stuff that they're putting in there, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm ready to go back to Ollywood. I'm ready to go back to Ollywood.
I'm looking forward to that game too, actually. I loved playing Ollie on my Vita. It was a nice little pastime. Hearing that a new one's coming out in a more 3D fashion, I'm all aboard.
Yeah, absolutely. I was stoked when that got announced. It was a highlight for me at that time.
Alrighty, everyone. Now, this is going to be my final highlight. This was unexpected. We were hoping to hear something Metroid related during Nintendo's E3 press conference this year, and we got it. It just wasn't something that we were expecting. Metroid Dread is a 2D side-scroller using 3D models and stuff. It's sort of like in the veins of like the old Super Nintendo Super Metroid. Now, this one is going to be a little bit different than before because instead of just shooting sideways and maybe up, you could actually aim your blaster at different angles. At least that's what I saw in the trailer. Samus has a new awesome suit that she's using to escape the middle of the planet, which is weird because usually in Metroid games, you're going from the outside of the planet inward to try to defeat whatever evil's in there. In this game, it's the opposite. You're trying to escape. And they're saying that this is going to be Samus's final adventure in this whole side-scroller universe of her games, I guess you can say. It's got me really intrigued. These new enemies, I forgot the name of the enemies. It's like these robotic enemies that do like these weird flips and try to motion track you, basically. They use these weird red cameras that track motion, and that's how they're trying to get you. It has this weird, eerie horror feel to it. I'm not the biggest fan of horror games, but this action side-scroller with horror elements in it has got me very interested, and I can't wait to get my hands on it, try it on my Switch, and just see how the game works. It looks like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I agree. And that was definitely a highlight as well. A lot of people were expecting Metroid Prime 4, another 3D Metroid game, but honestly, another attempt at a 2D Metroidvania, as long as it's done competently and by a good team, I think is really gonna. Yeah, I think that is gonna really kick some ass. And it's funny that you mentioned that about horror, because Metroid really is horror. It's for the time, it was a really spooky game because you're on the ship by yourself and you're surrounded by all these enemies that are trying to kill you. It is a very dreadful series. So I hope that they're not just putting the subtitle there because it sounds cool. I hope that they're putting the subtitle there because they understand what made Metroid. And from what we saw so far, it definitely looks like they did. All right, and for my last game that I'd like to talk about, E3 2021, this was actually my highlight for the show because it has been my most anticipated announcement that I have been waiting for at least a decade. And that is, there's something new from Advanced Wars. We're getting Advanced Wars 1 and 2. It's going to be a remake collection of the first 2 games, so that's 2 games you get for the price of 1, and they're remaking Advanced Wars 1 and Advanced Wars 2. Very similar to the way that Tony Hawk just had Pro Skater 1 and 2 remade and put into one package. And yeah, I mean, I've been waiting for this for the longest time. Back in the day, we had Advance Wars 1 on the Game Boy Advance, I believe. Yeah, That's Game Boy Advance. We had Advance Wars 2, and then we had Advance Wars Dual Strike and Advance Wars, I think it was Black Hole Rising or something. There was Days of Ruin, there it was. Days of Ruin. And after those 4 games, there was another series that kind of like spun off, but it was different. It was called Battalion Wars. But after that, we never got anything else from the Advanced Wars series. Nintendo has also put this into the pile of much needed appreciation IPs where they don't even re-release them. So you can't even, if you buy a Switch, you can't even play Advanced Wars. It doesn't matter if you had bought them on the Wii U Virtual Console, which I did. You couldn't transfer them to your Switch. There was no way to play Advanced Wars on your Switch. Well, that's gonna change now because we can get those remakes. And again, it's just one of the most anticipated things that it blew me away from this E3. I'm a huge Advanced Wars fan. I like that the games are different. I like that the games actually are very difficult and you have to strategize a lot for them. Maybe some new players will not enjoy, but it really feels like you've accomplished like something when you've done a good job getting through a level. Now, the art style is going to be sort of 3D, so we're seeing this a lot. We were just talking about Metroid. Metroid Dread had that. There was Ollie World is being remade into 3D. Risk of Rain 2. You name it. A lot of series are getting a sequel or like a remake, and they're putting it into 3D. Link's Awakening, So initially, my kind of thought was like, I wish it was the really nice, really polished 2D sprites, maybe even to have like some 3D elements to it, but it's still all pixely. But honestly, like I don't care because I'm so excited that we have something coming from Advanced Wars 1 and 2, and of course that means that there could be another game in the future. It pumps life into a series that was just sitting there and nothing was happening of it, where I felt like that was totally unfair because it was really a mistake to look over that series and not do anything with it. So yeah, Advanced Wars 1 and 2, that is hands down my highlight for this E3.
Yeah, Nintendo has a habit of creating awesome franchises and just leaving them to gather dust and not do anything with them. I mean, when's the last time we had an F-Zero game?
Yeah.
Exactly. So when I saw the announcement for Advance Wars, literally I messaged you right away. Dude, they're making a new one. Because I know how much you love it, and it brings a lot of memories back for me too. I've said this before, I'll say it again, I never had a Game Boy Advance as a kid. So I had to emulate some games, whatever games I could find online. And back then, in the early 2000s, finding a game online was like striking gold. So one of those games I struck gold with was Advance Wars, and I put in hours into that game. And you're right, it is difficult. So I'm happy to see that they're using a sort of cartoony cel-shaded style for this remake. I can't wait to try it out and re-experience it all over again.
I just want to say that this is coming back. There's more Advance Wars on the way, and I couldn't be any more excited because I absolutely adore this game. And guys, that's just some of the announcements that both Zero and myself really liked from E3 2021. And I'm honestly telling you, I cut down. There was a whole list. Like, people said that this E3 was not that great. There were obviously limitations and it felt a little bit different. We all obviously wanted it to be a big in-person event and have more announcements, but I still really enjoyed a lot of the content that was there, at least the announcement side.
Me too, actually. I mean, the only presentation I can say I really did not like was Bandai Namco's, because it was quite literally one freaking game and then they just went poof and disappeared. So,
yeah.
Other than that, the other announcements, the other presentations weren't abysmal at the very least.
Absolutely, yeah. There was a couple of things at E3 that I'm sure many of us kind of felt like they could have cut. But really, this year was an E3 that had a bunch of filler injected into it, and unfortunately that means we had to sit through some stuff we didn't like, but there was some really good stuff this year. You just had to really wait for it. But that's just the picks that we thought were good.
That's right. If you guys found any announcements, any presentations that you thought were amazing, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what you like, what you want to talk about. We'll talk with you guys down in the comments below. If you didn't like any of the takes that we had, also let us know. We'll argue with you down there too.
Absolutely. Go throw some comments down there. Again, I had a whole list of games that I really enjoyed, and I'm down to talk more about that. And I want to know what you guys think in regards to what were the highlights for E3 2021. Guys, thank you so much for checking out another TSG video. We hope you enjoyed it.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next video.
Later.